You are tuned in to the Monday Night Carlo, Sports and Entertainment Sportscast. And now, without further ado, I give to you the one and only Carlo.
Hello everybody, welcome to Monday Night Carlo. It's going to be a fun time this episode because there's one thing I want to do when I get home from work. I want to walk in the quick stop. I want to open myself a beer and I want to share one with Dante himself, and that is exactly what I'm going to do on this episode because I have the man, the myth, the legend that is Mr. Brian O'Halloran with me right now. Brian, welcome to Monday Night Carlo. How are you?
Good. How are you, Carlo? Thanks for having me on.
I'm good. That's a real exciting time for me. I've been buzzing all day about this. You having a good day so far?
Having a great day. Thanks for asking.
Okay, so let's just have a little start about you and your kind of upbringing and how you first got involved with acting.
The lack of any other type of skill. I got involved probably, as a child. I did, some community theater, as a child and then, plays in school. Right. And it was the type of thing that I was always acting out. So I thought I'd act out in a more productive and, structured environment. And then when I got to high school, in my senior year, I started doing it again. And then, from there, I went to community college and took courses and then, started to work at some of the community theaters in New Jersey as well. Okay. Cause, I was born and raised in the Bronx in New York City till I was 10. Then we moved out of New York into New Jersey. Right. So that's how that worked out. And then, I had been doing, community theater in New Jersey for about 2 to 3 years when audition notices went out for extras for the film Clerks. Right. And I had no idea what it was about. All I know is that the owner of the actual theater company had called all of the people that he had had in his so-called stable of actors that had worked out of there. I mean, this is before the internet and cell phones and stuff. And said, hey, there are these guys, they're renting the theater to hold auditions for a film they'll be shooting in the area. And I'm calling everybody and I thought you should come down for these things. So, that was a month prior to the audition. I had already been working on another play at another theater group at the time. And the first night came and went of the auditions and I totally just forgot because the next afternoon, the owner said, hey, Brian, I thought you were going to come down and audition for this. And I was like, oh, I totally forgot. So then I went down there and, if anybody has the 10-year anniversary Clerks X DVD, yes. Some of the extras, one of the extras is actually the auditions, videotaped, by Vincent Pereira, to audition, to videotape the auditions. And so you can see the absolute dreadful audition I put on, but it was enough to convince Kevin that, if I could play something kind of sinister and evil like I did in a play called Wait Until Dark, I could easily play some sort of slappy kind of clerk.
So was Clerks kind of the first film that you were actually involved in, Brian?
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely something that I was the first time working at, and it was fun because in a way that all of us for the first time was working on films. I know that, Scott and Dave and Kevin had all gone to the Vancouver Film School and had been going to film school for this. Right. But at a first attempt of doing a full feature with a full cast and going through the whole process and then, the editing process and then submitting it to film festivals and then getting accepted and actually going to these film festivals. It was nice that we were all experiencing the first for the first time.
I mean, how was the filming in black and white? First of all, did you know it was going to be in black and white, and was it any different for being that?
No, it doesn't affect us as actors, whether you're, filming in black and white or color. How it affects the production is, we couldn't really they couldn't afford color film. Right. Because when you film with color film, you can't really use fluorescent lighting like you'd see in the shops and you'd see in the convenience store, which that's what we did. We utilized, the general, fluorescent lighting. Cause when you shoot color film under fluorescent lighting, without the proper lighting and color correction and filters, everybody looks kind of greenish.
Right.
You all look like you're caught in the Matrix type of thing.
Right, yeah.
So, it was a simple way for him to shoot, not have to worry about renting the equipment, which we just, he was strapped for budget already. This was back in the early 90s, was back in the days when credit card companies were throwing themselves at you to please, use our card. So he had like 7 credit cards and some loans from parents, and Scott Mosier's parents loaned money. And then Kevin tells the story about how we had a nor'easter that blew in through, the Jersey Shore area.
Yeah.
And, flooded the town, and he had a car on blocks that he shared with Jay Muse, and they got, I think, $4,000. Out of the FEMA. That's when FEMA actually worked. And so he was able to fund the film. So in doing everything they can to bring costs down, black and white was the way to do it.
I mean, what are your kind of fondest memories of filming the first movie?
The film in the first one, it was kind of fun. Just the script itself is just very funny. So being able to actually take that script and bring it to life was a lot of fun. I mean, I really enjoyed working with Kevin. I really enjoyed working with Dave and Scott, and the hockey scene was a very fun time to play up on the roof, and and just talking about the subject matter, and just seeing all these other fellow actors that I'd worked with in the community theater, help out and work on the film as well, and see it get done. It was exhausting because we all had regular 9-to-5 jobs.
Right.
I mean, Kevin actually worked at the actual convenience store, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he would work the day shift and then, close the store. We would start setting up the store, removing, the lottery machine and some of the machines off the counter that we wouldn't be allowed to use, and then start setting up the store to shoot. And that would be like 10:30 at night. And we would shoot until about 5, 6 in the morning. And then we'd all go out, and I had a regular 9-to-5 job. I lived, a little bit over an hour away from where we shot.
Okay.
So getting back to my flat that I shared with other roommates who were going to, Rutgers University at the time in New Brunswick is where I was living. And then going to work at 9 o'clock and working till 5 and coming home quick for a nap at my lunch break and stuff like that. It became kind of exhausting after a while. But it was fun. I mean, one of the scenes that you can definitely tell that I'm exhausted is the scene where I come back after changing for my date with Caitlin, and I'm sitting there and Randall comes in and I'm telling him how I got fined for selling cigarettes to kids. And you could hear me sniffling. Like that was late in the shoot, and I was just getting this massive head cold that was just wearing me out.
So during the shoot of the film, I'm guessing there must have been moments where you just couldn't stop laughing. I mean, did they have to kind of stop the film regularly?
Yeah, it definitely was a lot of fun, and we would have to get the laughs out. So it's definitely something that even to this day, it's not even just that script. Anytime we work together, and Kevin just writes such amazing, hilariously funny shit.
I mean, is there any difference between kind of Kevin now and then?
Well, I mean, he's much more experienced now than then, obviously, but you just got to say that it's just, God, I would say, we still have that great laugh, that really great, hilarious laugh when we do the read-throughs and stuff like that. So, when it comes down to just enjoying the work, we're still the same guys that we enjoy our work with.
So, how long after the movie was released did it become kind of cult? Like, did you initially become recognized kind of straight away from the film?
No, not straight away. To be honest with you, when the film first came out, it went into pretty much art house theaters.
Right.
And so, that type of group is not really the one to go, hey, aren't you the guy? It wasn't that widely received. It was when it was released on VHS. Now, kids, you'll have to ask your parents about what VHSs are. But when it was released on VHS and made its rounds throughout the university and college crowd, every once in a while you'd get that, and then by the time it came out on that, Kevin was already in full swing and shooting Mallrats. And then we started working on Mallrats in Minnesota, and that was a lot of fun as well. And so, it was after that people started to go, who is this guy? Oh, he had another film? And then they go back. You know, it's like the people who discover Peter Jackson movie,
Yes.
you know, for the Lord of the Rings movies, but then they go, oh, wait, he did another movie? What's this Bad Taste movie? You know what I mean? It's that type of thing that people go like, oh. And so that's what happened with that. So yes, it built up, I would say, after like Mallrats started to go.
What is your favorite Kevin Smith film?
Oh, that's tough. That's like asking a mother a favorite child. You know, they're all really good. They all touch me in very different ways in that sense. And so, I mean, I really love the writing in Dogma, and I really enjoy the writing in Chasing Amy. I think he's spot on with those subjects, I believe. As far as fun to shoot, I mean, Clerks2 was just a blast to shoot. I mean, every day it was something else that was just absolutely nutty. So that I gotta say was a lot of fun to shoot. I mean, I really enjoyed working on Jay and Silent Bob. I'd never worked with live chimpanzees before, and it was one of the most scariest days of my life, actually, shooting with the chimps, because you didn't know what they were going to do.
Yeah. Clerks2 is personally my favorite as well. That's brilliant.
Oh, right on. And, so, you know, it could be anything for me.
Did you realize just how much bigger the second movie would be to the first? Like, it got some pretty good acclaim, you know?
Yeah, we were, you know, but you still had to have some kind of reservation. Like, did you know, hopefully the fan base sees where we're coming with it and takes it for what it is, because it could have been a double-edged sword and we could have really, you know, screwed the pooch on the whole franchise, so to speak, by pissing off the fan base, going like, this sucks. Why would you even think about doing another one? You know, that type of thing.
Yeah. So how about the third movie? I've heard some rumblings. Is there any truth in this?
Oh no, there's absolute truth in it. Kevin has been posting like mad on Twitter about it and talking about it in his podcast.
Nice.
Now that we have all the financing in place and the script is in place, that we've had the script in place for over a year now, actually.
Right.
That we're all ready to go, and hopefully by June we can start, you know, shooting that. And I can't wait to shoot it. I think it's a very funny script. It's a really great collection of what Kevin has learned through all his films, I think. And it's a great way, I think, to bring these guys back.
You're tuned into Monday Night Carlo, the sports pop culture podcast, available on iTunes, Spreaker, and Stitcher Radio. So why not hit that subscribe button now? Monday Night Carlo, where pop culture fun lives.
I know for me personally, one of my favourite scenes in Clerks2 was when they were talking at the counter about Lord of the Rings and Star Wars.
Right.
So for you personally, what is your favourite trilogy?
Well, it's definitely Star Wars, but that doesn't mean I don't poo-poo the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I mean, I was a fond, you know, I enjoyed the Lord of the Rings series. I mean, it really did set the bar on, you know, fantasy type of realms, and everything else after that, I mean, is kind of based off of what, you know, Tolkien had put forth. So I enjoy it. Now, just the fact that, you know, they were able to get the movie, you know, when you really think about it, the Lord of the Rings cartoons came about almost the same time that the Star Wars movies did.
Yes.
When you're talking about the Rankin and Bass, you know, rotoscoping stuff and the Saul Zaentz films. So, you know, it all depended on what you wanted to do, you know, as a fan. But I really enjoy the trilogy. I mean, the best one out of them. It truly is my opinion that Empire is the best out of all of them. And it was funny because when I recently saw The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, which is an amazing job that he did for only 45 pages of the book, he did an amazing 3-hour movie out of it. Because when you read the book, I mean, Tolkien doesn't really describe the actual battle at all in detail. And so to see what they put together as the battle, I thought was very cool. And that, out of those 3 movies, of the Hobbit movies, I think is like the Empire Strikes Back of the Hobbit films.
Yeah, I love the Lord of the Rings, definitely. As for Star Wars, though, what is your opinion on the prequels?
Well, you know, the original first 3 prequels?
Yes.
Or the ones that, I thought they were an okay effort. I mean, obviously the Jar Jar Binks thing was absolutely ridiculous and weirdly racist almost sounding. But at the same time, you got a lot of different ships that you saw out of it, different characters, different races out of it that you were like, wow. So they really did expand the universe. I mean, by the time you got to the third prequel, it was like, all right, try to find the actual live actor on screen, which was kind of tough sometimes because it was so CGI heavy. It was almost made for the video gaming world rather than the film watching world.
I think also they set the bar so high they were never going to match it,
Yeah. I mean, that's something that you definitely need to wonder about how they're going to do the Disney now is how are they going to take it from there, because you have such, if there is a rabid fan base, that is a rabid fan base.
Definitely. I think it's going to be definitely a lot better than the prequels though, hopefully anyway.
Right.
But just asking you, are you any similar to Dante as a character?
In a sense that I can be the type of people-pleasing type. Right. In a sense, like, I'm not a big fan of confrontation in the beginning. Right. In the beginning, what do you need? Let's work it out. What do you need? We'll do this. That type of thing. But then after a while, if it just becomes to the point where I'm obviously dealing with someone who is not getting it or whatever, then I could be acerbic and very kind of, sarcastic and get into a really Randall-esque type of mind. I'm actually probably more Randall-esque at times than I am the Dante type of character.
So as for other films, what are the movies that kind of float your boat, Brian?
God, I'm a big war type of film guy. Okay. I didn't go see American Sniper as of yet. I'll probably wait until that comes out on either HBO or whatever. Yes. But I like Patton is one of my is like a film that I love to watch from time to time and things like that. And Bridge for, different types of, war films. I try to see as much sci-fi as I can. I haven't seen Jupiter Rising. I'm mixed on it. Just because it looked amazing and thinking, the Wachowskis are going to come out with something great. And then just hearing the absolutely dreadful reviews and then like close friends telling me like, oh my God, it was such visually it's very nice, but the story was just ridiculous.
Really? Yeah.
So that's something that, all right, well then I'll wait until it comes on Showtime or HBO or something. So those are the type of movies I like. I'm a big fan of comedies. So I try to find things that appeal to me comedy-wise. Not everything appeals to me comedy-wise. It's a tough genre to write for, so.
How about music? I know that's kind of big with you and Randall in the film, but what about bands and that kind of thing?
Bands. Well, I'm probably going to get blasted on your podcast about this, but I'm a big U2 fan. I'm a big, Beatles fan. I love AC/DC, but I also grew up in the early 90s when rap was starting to make it, and hip hop made a huge push. And so, Public Enemy, the NWA movies coming out, I can't wait to see that. You have bands like Cypress Hill and Beastie Boys and House of Pain, which, even in the first film, I was wearing a House of Pain t-shirt underneath my overshirt. So I'm a big person into rap. Nice. Pop culture type of bands. Imagine Dragons is a good sound to them. People like, The Killers, another band I enjoy. Depeche Mode. If you're going back to 80s type style, I love Depeche Mode as well. The Cure, that time, cause I grew up during that time when that was the stuff playing in clubs and stuff that I went to. Right. So.
How about, as for when you go to conventions and stuff like that, what would you say are your kind of top 3 questions that you get asked a lot?
Well, recently it's like, is it true that I hear that you guys are working on a Clerks 3? The jokey question of, are you even supposed to be here today? Where's Randall? And your girlfriend sucked how many dicks? Those are the ones you get a lot.
How was it working with Rosario Dawson as well?
She's absolutely a dream to work with. Right. She's somebody who, really gets the comedy of everything and really.
She seems to be loving it.
Yeah. And so she's the type that, if you talk smack, she talks smack right back at you. I kind of weirdly say it like she's a guy's girl, you know what I mean? Like,
yes, yeah.
She's into sci-fi, she's into comic books, she's into sports and stuff like that. But at the same time, she's a smart person about politics and, human rights and voter rights and things like that. And she's a conscious person about the world in general, not just what's surrounding her. It's not about, what dress am I wearing, who am I dating, and what drink am I drinking? Like a lot of some actors and actresses can be like in that town.
Yeah.
And so she's not like that at all. And that's what's cool about it. I mean, I remember when Kevin asked her, like, after our first read through, like, just out of curiosity, why did you say yes to this project? Meaning Clerks2. And she said, to be honest with you, I wanted to see how you guys were going to do a donkey show. And it was that type of thing where it's like, yes, she gets it. All right.
So as for kind of scripts to film, was everything scripted in Clerks2, or was there a lot of improv?
No, it was definitely a lot of Kevin,
Right.
When we were able to improv, I'd say at most it was like 10%, if that.
Okay.
But over the years, Kevin has been more, especially with us, been more allowing us to have a take for ourselves, as they say.
Yes.
Give us a shot at doing an interpretation of what we want to do. And sometimes it works and makes the cut, and sometimes it doesn't. And it all depends. I mean, we've lived with these characters on us now for over 20 years, so I think we have an idea where these guys would be.
Yes. Okay, so as for a fun inclusion in my podcast, I've been asking my guests about kind of conspiracy theories. Are you ready for this?
You got it.
Okay, so I want to ask you about 9/11, and obviously being a New Yorker, do you think it was an inside job?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I mean, I know the American government is, smart and conniving and can do all sorts of things that we would never imagine they could do. But to get the cooperation of everything like that and to get that happening like that, yes. And I've seen those documentaries and those series on different type of investigative reports and channels and stuff about the inside stuff, and it just doesn't pass the smell test on a lot of different levels.
No.
So and a lot of people try to put it out to try to detract the blame, the responsibility game, what I mean? Like, wasn't it the security's job to get these people unarmed, like when first going through the airports,
right?
Things like that. And, the failure of the airline industry to follow these FAA recommendations that had been in place, recommendations that have been around forever, like reinforcing cockpit doors, and all sorts of things. And then, having marshals, armed, actual undercover marshals on planes, things like that. So these were things that were going on. Look, you went through that whole report about how, the president had gotten reports saying that, Osama bin Laden is determined to, have an event happen in the United States and stuff like that. So there's a lot of blame to go around. So to say that the U.S. government wanted to do it to, let's say, ramp up the war machine so that we could invade Iraq and take their oil, which, how's that going for us? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No.
It's not happening at all. If anything, now the oil is in the hands of ISIS, and ISIS is on the move, and we're playing missile command with them by just dropping bombs from the sky. You know what I mean?
Just to level with you, I completely agree.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Okay. So the other one I wanted to ask you about was Area 51 and what your take on Area 51 is.
Well, look, when you see what can grow from our planet over the millions of years that it's been around, and what we've been able to create, and that there are billions upon billions upon billions of other stars. These are just stars that have other bodies around it. To say that we're not the only intelligent life out there is kind of naive. So I believe there might be something out there. Have we had encounters here yet? I have no idea. Look, a lot of the ancient artwork, especially down in the Mayan and Incan world, is very space looking, just, very alien looking in that sense. And either they're just super duper creative minds and artistic minds to come up with that is one thing. But there are some things that can't be explained here.
Yes, yep.
Have I encountered anything personally? No. Do I think that some people might have? In their belief, I think they probably have. Does the government have any knowledge of this? I think they might, actually. I think the government might, when you talk about conspiracy theories, I think when it comes to that stuff, that there could probably be something out there. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And to be honest with you, I'm hoping we're not the only friggin', intelligent life in this universe. Otherwise, that'd be sad. That this was the best that they could come up with.
Okay, for one final question, Brian, I've got to ask you, who in your opinion shot JFK?
That one I think is definitely Oswald, but
okay.
I don't think he acted alone.
Right.
And then I think the cover up was, helped by obviously Jack Ruby.
Okay.
Taking care of the shooter. First plan of assassination is just kill the assassin. That for any plot of an assassination, it just runs down the thing. Now look, do I run down the whole, Oliver Stone JFK movie plot line of the cover up? Not really, but there are certain facts that are still out there. And once again, we will never know.
Definitely. So for one final bonus question, this is the one that I need to ask you. Who shot first, Han or Greedo?
Han. Han definitely shot first.
Okay.
He knew he wasn't getting out of there.
Brian, it's been a pleasure, man. I've really enjoyed having you on the show, so thank you so much for coming on today.
Appreciate it, and big shout out to all my fans out in the UK, and hopefully within the next year or so I'll be out there for some sort of convention and to meet all your fans in person.
Thank you so much, Brian.
You're welcome, Chief.
Why not come and like the official Monday Night Carlo Facebook page, facebook.com/EggettCarlMNC. That's facebook.com/EggettCarlMNC.
You've been listening to Monday Night Carlo. All views and opinions expressed by the Carlo are all his own and do not represent any other entity.